Shift isn't big. It's killing. Okay. Now, there's two trade-offs. Remember, the resolution means short.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seat. The ceremony will commence in 5 minutes. ご来場の皆様、この後5分後に開式となります。ご着席ください。We will begin shortly. As a courtesy to those around you, we ask that you please set your mobile phones to silent mode. ご来場の皆様、もう間もなく開式となります。携帯電話をお持ちの方はマナーモードに設定していただくようお願い申し上げます。In the case of emergency, please follow Asha's directions and proceed calmly. 緊急事態の場合には、スタッフの指示に従い、お近くの避難口へとお進みください。Simultaneous translations will be provided through the headset you just received. Plug these into the outlet in the armrest next to you. Select Channel 1 for Japanese and 2 for English. 同時通訳をご希望の方は、イヤフォンをご利用ください。腕掛けの下にあります挿入口に差し込み、日本語はチャンネル1、英語はチャンネル2に設定してください。 You're welcome to take photos from your seat at any time. However, we ask that the use of flash photography is limited to the official photographer. お写真を撮影される方は、お席にてフラッシュなしのモードをご利用ください。カメラマンのみフラッシュを利用いたします。Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the academic procession. 学長以下入場です。皆様、ご起立ください。
welcome goes to our very special guests. Mr. Kojiomi, who first introduced the concept of OIST nearly 17 years ago. Mrs. Aiko Shimajiri, the former Minister of State for Okinawa and Northern Territories Affairs. Mr. Isho Urasaki, the Vice Governor of Okinawa Prefectural Government. Mr. Yonekichi Shinsato, the Chairperson of the Okinawa Prefectural Assembly. And, of course, Mr. Yoshimi Nakahama, the Mayor of Honor Village, and his colleagues. We are still waiting for. And last but certainly not least, Dr. Stephen Chu, Nobel laureate and Stanford professor. Welcome to all of you. Welcome also to our Board of Governors and Board of Councilors, with Cherry Murray, the chair of the Board of Governors, sitting on stage with me. And welcome to our graduating students and their families, their friends and colleagues. Thank you for honoring us with your presence at that historic event. As we gather here near the Okinawan beaches, William Faulkner's thoughts come to mind. He stated, "You cannot swim for new horizons until you have courage to lose sight of the shore." Just over 5 years ago, these outstanding young individuals had the courage to uproot their lives to arrive here on the Okinawan shore. In fact, when these graduating students applied to come to OIST, the first buildings on campus had only been completed less than 2 years prior. When they arrived on campus, they saw something in this research and education startup that we could see in them, potential. Then, as a promotion corporation, OIST had recruited some of the top researchers from around the world, provided first-class infrastructure and research equipment, and employed superb staff members dedicated to achieving the mission of OIST. However, our educational program was untested, and our value as a university was unproven. These students were qualified to attend any graduate school in the world, yet they still chose OIST as their destination for graduating studies. We could not offer the security that century-old universities can, but with our fledgling university came a promise of dynamic vigor. Free from traditions, OIST offered the ability to forge a new path of education in the world. The students' journey while at OIST has not always been a smooth one. They have endured countless late nights studying, performing experiments, or writing manuscripts, some while trying to learn Japanese or bring up a family. But with the risk they took in coming here, I am certain their successes at OIST have resulted or will result in great rewards. As our faculty and staff have shaped the lives of these graduating students, so too have they shaped the future of OIST. Their invaluable input has allowed us to enhance the program for future generation of students. We at OIST will forever be grateful to them for their trust and engagement of these pioneering individuals. The graduation today marks OIST's true start as a legitimate graduate university. The success of these students is proof that we are achieving the OIST mission of providing internationally outstanding education and research. Achieving this mission would not be possible without the tremendous support of many individuals who have made their impact on OIST. From the government of Japan and the Okinawan Prefecture to our Board of Governors and Councilors, our faculty, our staff, and many others who have provided advice over the years. The success of OIST would not be possible without each and every one of you. The success of OIST Graduate School is in particular also a success of Jeff Wickens, who built up this school in the past 8 years from scratch. Many adventures still await both these graduates and the university. Our journeys have just only begun. But remember, do not be too timid and squeamish about your actions. All life is an experiment. The more experience you make, the better. This thought is not mine. It comes from another great American author, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Hence, I wish you all the best of luck in your next grand experiment. Thank you for your attention. Now I have the pleasure of announcing the next two speakers, Mrs. Aiko Shimashiri, followed by Mr. Isho Urasaki. Mrs. Shimashiri.
I'm Aiko Shimashiri, Special Advisor to the Minister of State of Okinawa Affairs. I've been asked by the Minister to deliver his message on his behalf. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so honored to be here and say a few words in honor of OIST's first graduation ceremony. To all graduates, congratulations on your graduation. I'd like to express my heartfelt congratulations to all family members as well. Also present Dr. Gruss, BOG Chair Dr. Cherry Murai, Vice Chair Dr. Arima, and BOG member Mr. Omi, to the BOG BOC members, and all faculty staff, students, and everyone involved who has contributed to the development of the university so far. I'd like to express my gratitude as a minister. The year 2012, when today's graduates entered OIST, that year was a great milestone for Okinawa promotion as a whole. The Okinawa Promotion Special Measure Law was revised together with the Okinawa Promotion Basic Plan and Okinawa Promotion Plan. These plans positions OIST as an important institution which is responsible for the formation of a hub of science and technology in Okinawa. Since then, the government of Japan has actively provided support to OIST, including financial support, in order to achieve its initial goal, that is, to contribute to the advancement of science and technology in Japan and throughout the world, and also the self-sustainable development of Okinawa. In next year's budget plan, we compiled approximately 20.3 billion yen for expenses to complete Lab 4 and increase the number of faculty to 70. We will continue to provide support to OIST. Excellent faculty members and students have already gathered at OIST from all over the world, and innovative and interdisciplinary academic research is underway. A startup from OIST has been launched, and collaborative researches with corporations are also making progress. OIST is steadily progressing its development. And today, I am very glad and proud that OIST first graduation ceremony is held. This is a major milestone since OIST establishment. To all the first graduates, I expect you to be successful in various fields by making use of what you have learned and experienced at OIST. I'd appreciate if you can remain in touch with Okinawa in some way. At OIST, under the leadership of President Dr. I expect the university will continue to make progress in conducting internationally outstanding education and research in science and technology of the highest standard, and that efforts will be made to strengthen the physical foundation of the university, also to create an innovation ecosystem in Okinawa so that the initial purpose of OIST can be achieved. Lastly, I will do my utmost further development of OIST and Okinawa as Minister of Okinawa Affairs. I hope to have continuing support and cooperation from all who are involved in endeavor. I wish you all the best in the future. Thank you very much for your attention.
Good
afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and congratulations. I'm Isho Urasaki, Vice Governor of Okinawa Prefecture. Unfortunately, the Governor of Okinawa, Mr. Masashi Onaka, is not here today, so on behalf of the Governor, I would like to deliver a message of congratulations. I would like to extend my greetings on this auspicious occasion of the first graduation ceremony of Okinawa Institute of Science and Technology Graduate University. I sincerely congratulate the graduating students who will have their degrees conferred today. I trust that in such respective fields as physics, neuroscience, marine science, and cell biology, you have acquired a wide range of skills, from basic knowledge to practical skills, and built a research network of scientists from all over the world here at OIST. A diversity of biological resources unique to a subtropical region is found here in Okinawa, where OIST campus is located. On this campus, surrounded by undulating woods and looking over coral reef, with state-of-the-art research facilities, I strongly believe that you have been engaged in various researches that would contribute to the development of Okinawa as you displayed the spirit of academic inquiry. You have come here from all around the world. You are the very first graduates of OIST, and a valuable resource, an important asset for Okinawa. From now on, you may be pursuing your studies in your field or taking on a challenge in the business world. Whatever new stage you are heading, I hope you will be successful. I also hope that you will show the charm and potential of Okinawa to people around the world as supporters of Okinawa. I am counting on you. Now, Okinawa Institute of Science and Technology was just established 5 years ago, but it has already become a hub of intellectual exchanges where excellent faculties and students come from all around the globe. As a graduate school with world-class education and research, OIST has steadily obtained recognitions and results and became the pride of Okinawan people. This is entirely due to the effort made by members of OIST who have worked on developing and growing this institution, as well as the Cabinet Office and the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology who supported them. I would like to express my deep respect and heartfelt gratitude to all the stakeholders. Okinawa Prefectural Government will continue making its effort to form an international R&D cluster where OIST will be the center of collaboration with many relevant organizations and where OIST research outcomes will lead to creating new businesses and new industries. I would like to conclude my congratulatory remarks by extending best wishes to today's graduates who are now moving on to the next phase of their lives with bright future and by praying for good health of all the guests in attendance. February 24th, 2018, Masashi Onaga, Governor of Okinawa Prefecture. Congratulations.
I know our next speaker wouldn't need an introduction, but a few of you may not know him. But our next speaker has been involved with OIST since the beginning as a member of OIST's first Board of Governors. He has supported OIST in various ways since then, including recently in our Perspective Council meeting to advise on the future directions of OIST, and as a keynote speaker in our student-organized conference. He has been recognized by both scientific and political leaders, earning a Nobel Prize in Physics and being appointed the 12th U.S. Secretary of Energy under Barack Obama. Please welcome with me Dr. Stephen Chu.
President Gruss, Board of Governors, faculty, staff, it is a great honor to be part of this first graduating ceremony. And to the class of 2017 or 18, sure. Congratulations on your achievements. Your families and friends, thank you for supporting the success of the student. As mentioned, as a member of the OIST Initial Planning Group, also the International Advisory Committee, and the first governing board, I recall those early meetings with Jerry Friedman, Thorsten Wetzel, Sidney Brenner, Professor Akima, and others. I should also say we were all inspired by the vision of Koji Komi-san. Sadly, in January 2009, I had to step down when I became the U.S. Secretary of Energy. Now, most people regard commencement speakers like a corpse at an Irish wake. We're needed for the ceremony, but nobody expects us to say much. The alternative is to remain silent, is to give unsolicited advice. Now, I know the advice is seldom remembered and rarely valued, but here I go. First, life goes by in a flash. Before you know it, you will be as old as I am. No one can prepare you for how quickly time passes, except when listening to commencement speeches. Second, today's graduate students and postdoctoral fellows seem to be overly concerned about building their resumes, publishing in high-profile journals, and fighting to become the lead author on those papers. 2016 Nature survey observed a rising concern over the reproducibility of experiments. Reproducibility is at the core of science. The main reasons appear to be selective reporting of data, pressure to rush to publications with limited data, and not demanding enough internal replication. So my advice to you is to resist publishing prematurely. While being first is important, it is far more important that your work stand the test of time and they create a foundation for future work. My third piece of advice is to cultivate a generous spirit. In all negotiations, don't bargain for the last little advantage. In your collaborations, always remember that credit is not a conserved quantity. In a successful collaboration, everybody can get 80% of the credit. To illustrate this point, I'm going to tell you about my own early career. And it begins in 1970. I was an entering physics graduate student at the University of California, Berkeley. And even though we were, arguably, at the best physics department in the world, half of my entering class dropped out because of the bleak job market. The pressure of young scholars today is bad, but no worse than in those days. Now, my thesis project was an atomic physics test of the unification of the electromagnetic and weak interactions. I was the first graduate student of my thesis advisor's next cohort of students, and after 6 long years as a graduate student and 2 more years as a postdoctoral fellow, we finally managed to get the experiment to work. And by this time, 4 more graduate students had joined the experimental effort. In the spring of 1978, despite the fact that I only published 1 minor scientific paper, I was offered the position of assistant professor of physics at Berkeley. The culmination of my graduate student and postdoctoral work was only titled A Preliminary Measurement, and it was published 7 months after I accepted the job. I was the 3rd author on that work. My mentor explained his choice to me. You have a good job, and the others need more help. I agreed with him. When the physics department hired me, it broke a decades-long tradition of never hiring anyone who's trained there as a student and a postdoc. I didn't think I was special, but in hindsight, I think the faculty liked me because I plunged fearlessly into new fields. My thesis advisor never worked with lasers, but when we decided to do the experiment, I told him, don't worry, I'll take care of the laser. And for our experiment, the flash lamp pump dye laser I designed and built ran continuously, 24 hours a day for 6 months. The physics department made 4 copies of that laser. Now, after joining the faculty at Berkeley, I was given a choice of either starting my research group or taking a leave of absence to broaden my scientific horizons. So I did both. I used my faculty startup money to build an even better laser system for the next generation experiment with a beginning graduate student named Persis Drell. I then took a leave of absence at Bell Laboratories for 2 years. And the scientific atmosphere at Bell Labs was so electric to abandon, and with strong guilt feelings, I later resigned from my faculty position. In 1983, Persis published her first paper acknowledging me, quote, as making invaluable contributions to the laser system. I was not a co-author. When Persis published her final 1985 paper, I had moved on. By then, my colleagues and I published the first and what remains the most precise laser spectroscopy measurement of an atom consisting of an electron and its antiparticle, or positronium. I also laser-cooled atoms that led to the 1997 Nobel Prize. Now, Persis and I have remained close friends, and it's good for me. She's now provost at Stanford. At Berkeley and Bell Labs, I learned it's okay to fail. But if you're going to fail, fail fast. Failing fast means you need to identify the critical things that are needed for success. Don't work on the parts of the project you know will work, like computer interfacing. Focus on the go, no-go parts. If you can't get those critical areas to work, look for another approach, or move on. In my own experience, less than 10% of my ideas worked as initially conceived, and more than half were complete failures. If you never fail, that will be the biggest failure of your life. You will never know what you could have done. Michelangelo said it best. The greater danger for most of us lies not in setting our aim too high and falling short, but in setting our aim too low and achieving our mark. In my remaining time, I want to talk about a major problem the world faces. Now, for many people, our homes are lit in the winter, cool in the summer, and warm at night. Warm in the winter, cool in the summer, and lit at night. I'll get it right. We drive cars with the power of hundreds of horses and fly across continents with the power of 100,000 horses. And what has made all these miracles possible is our ability to find and exploit fossil energy. However, the carbon emissions that come with this energy is changing the Earth's climate. Since 1880, the average surface temperature of the Earth has increased by 1.2 degrees centigrade. But more alarmingly, more than 80% of that increase has occurred since 1975. The Earth's climate is extremely complex, and there are considerable uncertainties in predicting the future. However, with each passing decade, we are learning that the Earth's climate is far more sensitive than we previously thought. While the future remains hard to predict, we are witnessing rising seas, strange weather patterns, increasing heat waves, droughts, and wildfires. The uncertainty in predicting with precision the consequences of our actions cannot be an excuse for inaction. We also need to confront a deeply moral issue. Deeply rooted in all cultures is the notion of generational responsibility. Parents work hard so their children will have a better life. But are we willing to invest our money to protect the children and grandchildren of people we will never know? Now, when a person smokes, the health risks are borne by the smoker. Climate change introduces risks that affect everybody. And if the U.S., for example, is unwilling to invest a tiny fraction of its GDP to end its addiction to fossil fuel, it's as if we are saying, and I quote, "I enjoy smoking. You're my doctor, and you tell me my habit will harm the health of children and grandchildren around the world? Unless you can tell me precisely what will happen if I continue to smoke, why should I sacrifice my pleasure? And besides, what do I care about people halfway around the world I'll never know?" So what can science and technology do? We need energy to raise the standard of living in developing countries. And today, in many places in the world, solar power is becoming a lower-cost option than fossil fuels. The combination of solar energy and low-cost batteries are allowing rural areas in developing countries to create microgrids that can leapfrog past a centrally connected electrical grid, just as cell phone technology has made telephone lines obsolete. Despite this progress, we still need further advances. And why? As we transition to greater than 50% renewable energy, the full cost of this energy includes energy storage, includes long-distance transmission to move renewable electricity from the best sites in the world where it's needed, and a more sophisticated distribution system. And finally, we need to create liquid hydrocarbon fuels from water, carbon dioxide, and clean energy, because that will be the long-term seasonal battery. Now, by 2030, the oil industry projects that oil demand will peak as new vehicle sales shift to electric-powered cars and delivery trucks. That's the oil industry that is predicting demand in oil will peak, not because we're running out, because demand will peak. The shift is being driven by the plunging cost of EV batteries, by the rising concern of air pollution. And by 2030, I believe there's a 50-50 chance a 5-passenger vehicle with a 450-kilometer range will be less costly to own and operate than an internal combustion engine car. Now, the speed of charging EVs is essential for wide-scale adoption, the reason's simple. Most people are not rich enough to own garages. I'm working with a Stanford colleague, Professor Yishui, to create a battery that can add 200 kilometers in 6 minutes. We're also developing a new approach to electrochemistry to economically split water into hydrogen and oxygen as the first step in creating liquid hydrocarbon fuels. There are numerous other science and technology developments that will be needed to reduce global carbon emissions. But in addition to advances in science, we also need stable, long-term policies to fund visionary research and to guide private sector investments that turn innovation into large-scale deployment. Now, I suspect that only a fraction of you plan to work on clean energy. So why am I telling you all this stuff about climate change? As scientists, you can understand the climate science. As scientist citizens of the world, I urge you to spend more time learning about what is happening and talk to your family and friends. Consider how you can use your expertise to make discoveries that could lead to a sustainable future. Now, let me be clear. I'm not calling for a massive enlistment of scientists to combat climate change. And to paraphrase a U.S. Army recruiting poster, we just need a few great people. So let me conclude by showing 3 photographs. So may I have the first slide? Shows up. This is a view of Earth's fragile atmosphere. 99% of the atmosphere lies below 32 kilometers. Let's step back and take a more distant view. So the next slide. The second picture is of Earthrise, taken on Christmas Eve, 1968, during the Apollo 8 mission. This was the mission that preceded Apollo 11 that landed a person on the moon. Why do you go from 8 to 11 in one step? So you're making more progress. There was no 9 and 10. As the spacecraft completed its final orbit around the moon, it was turned earthward. And an astronaut, Bill Anders, took the picture and said, "We've come all this way to explore the moon. The most important thing is we've discovered the Earth." Now, since that time, we've discovered we're changing the climate of our planet. And from the vantage point of Apollo 8, we see a beautiful blue Earth rising above a bleak, gray lunar landscape. Look, no air, no water, no food. Not a good place to live. Look more at the picture. The blackness of the surrounding space is a stark reminder that there's nowhere else we can go. Now, for the next picture, next slide, please. We're stepping back even further, and it's an iconic image taken of Voyager 1 in 1990. As the spacecraft began to leave our solar system, the astronomer Carl Sagan convinced the NASA engineers to turn Voyager for one last homeward look. In this picture, Earth appears as a pale blue dot of light, the little circle, captured within a fraction of a single pixel and embedded in a rainbow of scattered light. So here's a condensed version of what Sagan said about this picture. Look again at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives on a mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. Our planet is a lonely speck. In all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The Earth is the only world known to harbor life so far. There is nowhere else, at least soon, which our species could migrate. Like it or not, the moment the Earth is not like it or not, for the moment, the Earth is where we make our stand. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known. Now, to this message, I want to add an ancient Native American saying. It says, treat the earth well. It was not given to you by your parents. It was loaned to you by your children. So I close by summarizing what you've heard. 1, your time on earth is your most precious asset. Use it wisely. 2, stay true to what attracted you to science. Concentrate on adding lasting contributions, not transitory claims. 3, share the credit. If you're generous to others, most people will be generous to you. And last, one of the most important challenges we face is climate change. Consider joining our crusade by discovering even better solutions that will give us abundant and affordable clean energy. And by so doing, in the words of Alfred Nobel, you will, quote, confer the greatest benefit to mankind. Graduates, please accept my warmest congratulations. May you live long and prosper. May your children know the earth they lent you has been well cared for. Thank you.
We would like to acknowledge receipt of several telegrams. ここで祝電をご紹介させていただきます。
From the member of the House of Councillors, Mr. Yosuke Tsuruho, member of the House of Councillors, Chairman of the LDP Research Commission for the Promotion of Okinawa and former Minister of State for Measures for Declining Birth Rates, Ms. Kuniko Inoguchi, member of the House of Representatives, Mr. Konosuke Kokuba, member of the House of Representatives, Mr. Deni Tamaki, member of the House of Representatives, Mr. Mitsuo Gima, President of the National Institute of Technology Okinawa School, Dr. Yasunori Ando. Also, from the Bank of Okinawa Limited, Mr. Yoshiaki Tamaki, the President, and from the Bank of the Ryukyus, Chairman Mr. Tokei Kinjo, and President Mr. Yasushi Kawakami, and many other corporations have kindly sent flowers for this occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, First C, for a wonderful talk that I hope all of us will remember years and decades to come. Today, as we honor and celebrate our very first graduating students, we also honor all those who have worked to make this milestone possible. All faculty, staff, students, families, board members, and government officials alike who have contributed to the success of our nascent university. One person, a great person, deserves special recognition. For without his visionary leadership, OIST may never have been built. That man is Koji Umi. Courage, selflessness, character. These are the qualities that occasionally can lead to greatness. These are the qualities that describe Mr. Umi. It took courage to tirelessly fight to transform Okinawa into a hub for science, research, and development. With great vision and leadership, Mr. Omi recognized the need to increase the level of scientific research and education within the prefecture, and he set out to do so through the founding of OIST. Starting a university from scratch is not a venture for the meek. His selflessness can be seen in his altruistic activities through which he showcased the importance of science and technology in society. Following his successful political career as Minister of State for Science and Technology Policy, Minister of State for Okinawan and Northern Territories Affairs, and Minister of Finance, he put his political ambitions to educate the global populations on the importance of science and technology in society. It was this calling that led him to found the Science and Technology in Society STS Forum nearly 15 years ago, which he still chairs to this day. In times when it often appears that enlightenment never happened, Mr. Omi provided a heaven for rational and well-balanced voices to keep societies on track. His character is unlike that of anyone I've met before. He is both strong-willed and assertive, yet deeply devoted and passionate. His love for Japan is apparent in his motivation to enhance the country's status on the world stage. He is sincere and meticulous and full of pride. I can honestly say that my life has been enriched by his presence. Less than 20 years ago, Mr. Omi presented the idea to the Japanese government to build a graduate university here that could one day be considered one of the best in the world. When this idea was first presented, it seemed to be an impossible task. Japan is a nation steeped in tradition, and Mr. Omi's proposal broke every traditional mold in the Japanese university system. He dreamt that one day OIST could act as the catalyst for change within the Japanese university system. He prioritized internationality and English as the working language. He recognized the need for a flexible, high-trust funding system to allow truly creative research to be conducted. He realized the benefit of such a university in Okinawa that could not only act as a model for other Japanese universities, but could also act as a hub for R&D and a gateway to connect research institutes, industries, and governments within Japan and the Asia-Pacific region. Mr. Omi prepared the political grounds for this university, but at the same time, he acted like a scientist. Once he conceived the idea, he searched for the best minds. He set out to visit world-leading research institutes and various Nobel Prize laureates to discover the best practices to foster scientific breakthroughs. He attracted outstanding individuals to serve OIST. He introduced the legal framework upon which OIST could be built. The existence of OIST is owed in large part to the legal acts presented by Mr. Omi. Even after his tenure as a minister, Mr. Omi continued his dedication to progressing the state of scientific research and education of OIST through his work on the Board of Governors. His devotion to OIST has made all of our success possible. Thus, I hope to convey our gratitude with this token of our appreciation. As we honor the graduates with degrees for their masterpiece work in science, we honor Mr. Omi for his role in the scientific masterpiece that is called OIST. Thus, I'm proud to award OIST's first honorary doctorate to Mr. Koji Omi. This sets the bar very high for future honoris causa degrees. Machiavelli once stated, "It is not titles that honor man, but man that honor titles." and we are honored to bestow this degree today. Mr. Omi, if you would please join me on the stage.
Dr. Peter Gruss, member of the Board of Governors, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be here at this first convocation ceremony for OIST. As a person who planted the seed for OIST, today's convocation is an especially meaningful event for me. It is also a great honor for me to receive the honorary degree conferred upon me today. This is one of the proudest moments in my life, and I'm overcome with emotion that my vision has come true. I'm not a science professional. After graduating in economics, I worked for 26 years as a governmental official to promote Japan's economic and industrial development. During that time, I became aware of the importance of science and technology issues. In 1982, I decided to enter politics under the Liberal Democratic Party and was elected to the lower house in 1983. Over 26 years as a member, I served in the cabinet 3 times. I also held numerous posts within the LDP, including Director General of the Science and Technology Policy Bureau. As a result of that experience, I came to believe that science and technology was vital for energizing Japan and promoting further economic growth. I also thought that a fundamental direction for Japan's science and technology policy should be established. I therefore submitted a private member's bill to create the fundamental law on science and technology. This legislation, Japan's first major law in the field of science and technology, was passed by the Diet in 1995 and became the basis for making Japan a leading science and technology nation. Prime Minister Koizumi remembered this and appointed me as Science and Technology Minister in 2001 to oversee Japan's science and technology policy and as Minister for Okinawa Affairs at the same time. Okinawa, while accounting for only 0.6% of Japan's total land area, hosts 74% of U.S. forces in Japan. The U.S. military contribute to the peace and stability of Japan and the Asian Pacific region, but the presence of the American troops is a substantial burden for Okinawa and its people. To compensate for this, the central government has long poured resources into Okinawa, focusing on infrastructure projects like building ports, roads, airports to promote development centered mainly on tourism. But Okinawa still needs help, and governmental support for various development projects must continue. Since my portfolio included responsibility for Okinawa, I gave serious thought to what I could do to promote other kinds of development there in addition to tourism. In my role as Science and Technology Minister, I began developing an idea to make Okinawa a leading intellectual cluster for science and technology in the Asia-Pacific region. My initial thought was to upgrade the existing local university, but I was advised that to ensure success, it would be better to start from scratch. To give shape to my idea of founding a new academic institution, I visited the world-leading schools in the US, Europe, and Asia. I also recruited Nobel laureates to serve on an international advisory committee for the project. Two of them, MIT's Dr. Friedman Nobel laureate and Dr. Stephen Chu, teaching at the University of California, Berkeley at the time, are present today. Given Okinawa's location, I thought that oceanographic studies might be an ideal subject, but my advisors urged me to take an interdisciplinary approach and establish a graduate school that would attract researchers and stimulate cross-disciplinary research in biology, physics, chemistry, computer science, nanotech, and other fields. Over that time, I developed the 5 fundamental concepts of OIST: best in the world, international, flexible, global networking, and collaboration with industry. I won the government's support for the project, and the law establishing OIST was passed in June 2009. The first facilities of OIST complex went into use in 2010. The institution is still young, and while we have yet to reach our goal of having 300 principal investigators, we are making good progress, and we are moving along our path to the future. OIST has received strong support from the central government of Japan. It was the first place that Prime Minister Shinzo Abe visited when he came to Okinawa in February 2013, just soon after the start of the administration. I do believe that OIST's future success greatly depends upon continued support by the central government and support by the people of Okinawa. I would like to thank the advisors who supported me along the way, and to Board of Governors for their leadership in guiding OIST and ensuring its future success. I'm also very happy that OIST is led by President Dr. Peter Gruss, an exceptionally well-qualified individual. Together with the passage of the Fundamental Law on Science and Technology in 1995 and the creation of the SDS Forum 2004, a platform for world leaders to discuss science and technology for the future of humankind, OIST is one of my proudest achievements. In closing, I would like to say a few words to today's graduate. I think you know that you have spent time during research at a very unique institution, and I hope that you will become world leaders with outstanding achievement in your chosen field. Do not forget the world, the best in the world. I wish you every success. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have a short break of about 10 minutes. You may leave your seat at this time if you wish. Thank you. これより約10分間の休憩に入ります。
Good afternoon, everyone. As the Dean of the Graduate School, it's my privilege to introduce the part of the ceremony where the degrees are conferred. In September 2012, we received our first Ph.D. students. They were selected from among hundreds of applicants after searching worldwide for the best students. For every 10 applicants, only one is admitted to the program. Since 2012, we've grown year by year, and there are now more than 160 students from 27 different countries in the program. But today we celebrate the achievement of the very first to complete their doctoral degree. This degree is conferred in recognition of original research that makes a significant contribution to scientific knowledge. Students graduating today have measured up to the highest international standards, confirmed by defending their theses before 2 external examiners from abroad. Now, in this ceremony, the students will be presented with their hood by the Chair of the Board of Governors, Dr. Cherry Murray, and with their degree certificate by University President Peter Gruss. I will call the name of each student and then invite their thesis supervisor to give a short introduction to the student. So, Mark Daly, who will be introduced. He will be introduced by Professor Sheila McCormack.
Eva Horja. There was a young student called Mark who started his studies in Cork. Okinawa then called him to make fibres ultra thin. It's amazing these things ever worked. So I've known Mark for more than 10 years. When he was an undergraduate student, when I joined University College Cork in Ireland back in 2006. Little did we know then that we would both end up over in Japan, in Okinawa, to become part of the OIST story. Mark started his PhD studies in Ireland, working in atomic physics, and then transferred over to Okinawa when OIST was started in order to work in near-field optics doing nanoparticle trapping. He's now working in his dream job in scientific publishing as an editor, and I think we should take this opportunity to congratulate him on his doctoral work and on his current choice of career. Cogorgegus Mark.
Lee James Ariadne. Who will be introduced by Professor Thomas Bush.
I thought I could introduce Lee to you as a student from Ireland who did fantastic work in theoretical quantum mechanics, but I thought because this is probably Lee's happiest day in his life, or at least one of them, I write a little speech that he might actually enjoy. So, as you see, this is Lee. Apologies to the translator, the next is going to rhyme. As you see, this is Lee. He did all his work with me, mostly on vorticity, but also on the boundary of new quantum technology. Built a code that easily solved the ancient quandary of superfluids in 2D, named it then GUPE, made it free for all to see, presided students' assembly, proved he knows his butzery, astounding kept his sanity, now he's free in Berkeley, work on exascale sorcery. Don't ask me. Lee, congrats on your degree.
Faisal Mahmood. Faisal is graduating in absentia, but he will still be introduced by Professor Ulf Skoglund, who will receive the Hood and diploma on his behalf. We should see a picture of Faisal on the screen.
So Faisal isn't here physically, but we can all regard him as being here with his spirit. So Faisal is actually a very fantastic person and very active, and he came to my lab with wishes to be deep into normal image processing that we did. But he has several interests, and one of them is hardware. So for some odd reason, we started turning into hardware, and he really managed very well to produce new hardware for signal processing, which has been successfully integrated in various places, and now is actively doing that at Johns Hopkins for new medical devices. And this is actually the reason why he's not here. So he got occupied. But I think we should all give him an applaud anyway, because he's here with his spirit.
Matt Toots. He will also be introduced by Professor Skoglund.
Well, now we're lucky because Mert in my unit is actually here. We are talking about two persons who are both in my unit, and Mert is actually here, but they did very different things. So Mert made a rather, in my view, fantastic discovery that you can actually make our 3D reconstructions of individual proteins as they crystallize with our technique called tomography. Now, using that as a template, you can actually do crystallography on the result. And that's never been achieved before on biological materials, and can provide a very interesting shortcut for places where crystallization is very difficult. Now, this was a very independent piece of work by Mert, and just a piece of showing off his excellence in analysis. So please.
Dongxing Zong. He will be introduced by Professor Fujie Tanaka.
Dongxing studied synthetic organic chemistry. Dongxing came in 2012, and then in 5 years he got PhD. so he got the family and then enjoyed research. And he developed several chemical transformation methods that are useful for the drug discovery and biofunctional molecules. So then I think Dongxing developed future in the postdoc position now, and then in the future continue to advance the research. Congratulations.
Ijun Luo. Who will be introduced by Professor Noriyuki Sato.
Okay. So Ijun is one of the best PhD students I have supervised in the last 3.5 decades, including my years at Kyoto University. His knowledge of evolutionary developmental biology is very broad, and his research activity is astonishing, as is evident from his two publications. One is Nature Communication, the other is Nature Ecology and Evolutions. For the last 2 years, I have really enjoyed discussion with him on the principle regarding the evolution of animal body plan, including marine invertebrates. Speaking frankly, I have learned a lot from him. My units and OIST are proud to be able to host him, this kind of a talented young researcher.
Kenneth Bachman. Who will also be introduced by Professor Sato.
So Ken has a reason to be proud of not only his high research output, but also his ability to communicate with other researchers. He contributed to decoding the genome of crown-of-thorn starfish, which is the enemy of corals, together with the Australian researchers. He led the discussions with Skype every 2 weeks during the COT Genome Project. This kind of communication skill and leadership is essential for this kind of a big project such as genome decoding. We sometimes say that someone is a very lucky person, or it's for unknown reasons. His genomes project is going very smoothly, and Ken is one such person. But we know that the luck is really due to his ability. Thank you.
Rico Ole, who will be introduced. Who will be introduced by Professor Nick Shannon.
So I'm afraid this doesn't rhyme. I first met Rico in 2012. That was a really crucial moment for OIST. We were interviewing our first students, and we knew we had to get this right. And Rico's is one of the interviews I remember very clearly. I remember talking about science, and that was all okay. And we talked about his hobbies, and that really impressed me because he said he liked dancing and learning Japanese and karate. Now, I'm really bad at dancing. And I'm not very good at Japanese either, I'm ashamed to say. So this I thought bode well. So I asked him about it, and he said, "Oh, I'm really bad at dancing too, but I just keep trying." So I didn't know at that time Rico was going to become my student, nor did he, I guess. But he did, and I haven't regretted it. And whenever things were difficult, he did keep trying. He approached this with enormous honesty. He was honest about my weaknesses too, but I can live with that. He's been a great asset, finally, through his research, which was great, and through his huge effort with being the president of the Martial Arts Club in OIST, in teaching people karate, in outreach. He's been one of the students who's done the most public outreach work. And he's also one of our true honorary Okinawans, having really immersed himself in Okinawan culture and marrying into a very nice Okinawan family. So I'm really happy to see him and some of them here today, and congratulations, Rika.
Zafar Hawash. Who will be introduced by Professor Yabing Chi.
It is my great pleasure to introduce Zafar Hawash, who is my first Ph.D. student in OIST. So during his Ph.D. study, he has consistently tried his best, focusing on surface science aspects of solar cell devices. It's worth mentioning he is the first researcher reporting the instability issues related to the whole transporting layer spiral Miotet in perovskite solar cells. And in the near future, Zafar has decided to conduct postdoc research in Europe and then eventually return to his home country to pursue an academic career. As old Chinese saying goes, 千里之行始于足下. A long journey always starts right under your feet. Today, we gladly see Zafar has accomplished a very important step towards this goal. Congratulations, Dr. Hawash.
Starzynski. Who will be introduced by Professor Mitsuhiro Yanagida.
So, Caroline, you're very popular here. Only one female graduate this time. So she came from Germany originally, then BS, Manchester and Aberdeen, Scotland, got master's degree there. Then she came to Okinawa, initially stayed in our lab for a while. Then she worked with us last nearly a little longer than 5 years. She's actually speaking Japanese very well. And furthermore, she can write kanji, quite many kanji. When she was bored, she often writes kanji. So anyway, so she's one of the most talented students, I think, here. And she worked on, actually she made a wonderful discovery on the important gene when we have to survive under starvation or fasting. And she found 8 genes which are present from bacteria to human. In the eukaryotes, they mitochondria. And that looks like a quite impressive genes. One is anti-oxidation, redox, or some others. And these absolutely required when you want to survive under nitrogen starvation, because these nitrogen sources have to be recycled within body. So finding 8 genes will be probably in the future will intensively studied. That is my hope. So she actually will go take a next job sometime very soon, and she permit me to say she's also a mother of a very cute daughter, and her family is here too. So I'd like to say Okinawa is a very productive place, not only for science, but also one of the highest birthplace in Japan. So that is a very good sign for the sign of future. Okay, so congratulations.
Song Liu. Who will be introduced by Professor Evan Economou.
So Dr. Chu spoke very eloquently today about some of the big problems facing humanity, and I'm proud to say that Song's thesis addressed some of those problems. He did a really wonderful thesis that had 3 main components, all looking at biodiversity in different biodiversity hotspots. So the first was on the effects of rubber agriculture on biodiversity in Southeast Asia and lowland Southeast Asia, which is a big problem. And the second was about what's happening with climate and ecological communities in high mountains in Tibet. And the third was the evolution of species in very remote but very isolated, very remote but very unique biotas in the Pacific Islands. And out of that work, there's been many good papers, and also his work has led to the discovery of a number of new species. So, but what I'll really most remember about Song is how hard he worked. No one in my lab has worked as hard as he has in the last 6 years. And Song is my first student, not just at OIST, but anywhere. And if all of my students are like OIST, I'm going to have a very happy and easy career ahead of me. So.
Nino Espenas. Who will be introduced by Professor Hidetoshi Saze.
So Nino was a very brave student because he chose my laboratory PhD. But it was not a difficult task because he's quite independent from the beginning. He worked on a project about plant microbiome interactions, and what I did for his PhD was just approve his purchase for very expensive antibodies. Otherwise, it was very fun to see him becoming a mature scientist during the PhD. So, all the best for your future career. Congratulations.
Keita Ikegami. He will also be introduced by Professor Noriyuki Sato.
Okay, so Keita joined OIST with an informatic background. However, for his PhD thesis, he challenged the concept of the phylogenetic stage, which is a very basic concept in evolutionary developmental biology of vertebrates ourselves. And to this end, he needed to learn more kind of a general zoology, developmental biology, and evolutionary biology. So his kind of PhD studies, he learned more than the kind of PhD students with biological background. But he worked very hard, and he learned a tremendous kind of amount of things during these 5 years at OIST. So recruiting PhD students like Keita with multidisciplinary background is one of the OIST's best kind of strategy. So I wish to congratulate Keita for this achievement.
Daisuke Takahashi. The supervisor, Professor Hirotaka Sugawara, is unable to be here today, and he's asked me to read the following. Daisuke Takahashi kept working on one of the most promising models beyond the standard theory of elementary particles. The model presumably will replace the so-called supersymmetric model, since LHC failed to find superparticles. He successfully proved the stability of the model and also applied it to dark matter and to the inflationary universe. He will be continuing the work along this line in the future, and also he is determined to contribute to physics education in Okinawa after graduation. This is one of the most important contributions of OIST to Okinawa, and I hope he'll get a great help from OIST. Thank you. So this brings us to the end of the award of degrees, and I now have the pleasure of inviting Dr. Caroline Starzynski as a new graduate to speak on behalf of all graduates.
One moment. Dear guests of today's ceremony, I'm honored to deliver the graduate speech at the first OIST graduation ceremony. Just a few months ago, I wouldn't have imagined standing here in front of you. First of all, I need to stress that without the founding members of the OIST Graduate University, we all wouldn't have a reason to gather today. Their extraordinary vision to create a university on the remote hills of Okinawa came true just in a blink of an eye, actually. And what is more, their vision is bearing the first fruits they can be proud of.
the passionate dedication in establishing the OIST Graduate University by the distinguished members of the OIST Board of Governors and the Board of Councillors shall not be forgotten. Especially the legacy of our first graduate university president, Jonathan Dorfman, will live on and thrive in the next generations of OIST graduates. We all are grateful for his deeds in setting the first stepping stones for our young university towards academic excellence. Thank you, Jonathan. In the case of some graduates who are present today, including myself, we have been taking care of an additional highly demanding project, which is child rearing, as you heard. Therefore, I need to express gratitude to the OIST community of promoting a child-friendly and open-minded atmosphere here on campus. Surely, the constant support from the teachers of the OIST Child Development Center, the CDC, under the lead of the wonderful Julia Nappold, meant that being a parent and a PhD student is a feasible endeavor. In addition, I need to thank our Dean, Jeff Wickens, and the OIST Graduate School for their unconditional love, support, to their students. They were there for us in time of bureaucratic riddles and other hardships. Speaking of hardships, this brings me to the question someone had asked a few weeks ago. What is most essential to survive the PhD studentship? And I instantaneously replied, persistence. Yeah, persistence is the trait which causes you to keep on going despite difficulty and failure. Like a roly-poly toy, always seeking the upright position. Sometimes you are lucky, but often there are hurdles which require you to reconsider and readjust your approaches. As a matter of fact, obtaining a PhD degree means much more than just becoming an expert in one particular field. It is actually proof that you are efficient in responding to different kinds of circumstances. Therefore, we are certified problem solvers, critical thinkers, time and even conflict managers, equipped with reasonable skill to convince. And that's all in one person. In addition, being a PhD student here in OIST turns you into an explorer of a unique culture and foreign language, just as a side adventure. How wonderful. I'm really contented about having gone through this process. Thank you, OIST, for giving me this opportunity. And I wish all the remaining PhD students loads of persistence and also luck. I am looking forward to seeing you all on this stage in the future. In the last part, I'd like to address the people of Japan. So, now, 国民の皆様へ
Dear people of Japan, thanks to your many years of support, OIST has been established and is proving ever more successful. That is why, on behalf of the graduating students, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude for this wonderful country. Japan today is working towards an era of globalization and is aiming to provide education that is compatible with this global era. If OIST can make even a minor contribution to Japan in this respect, we would be very happy. We support and wish for a bright future for Japan. Thank you.
本当に素晴らしい。So I'd now like to invite the Chair of the Board of Governors, Dr. Cherry Murray, to speak.
So today is a very special day in the history of OIST Graduate University. The very first graduates have now received their doctoral degrees. This day and these graduates are unique. In the entire history of the university, there never again will be a first graduation, and there never again will be a first graduate class. We are gathered here to celebrate and honor these graduates and to acknowledge the efforts of others that were critical to make this day possible. First, kudos to the graduates and their families. Students of the first class were pioneers in every possible way. They left their homes to join an untested experiment. Everything they did after they arrived at OIST was a first. Each rotation, each class, each qualifying exam, each thesis exam was a new step. The creation of the graduate program required the cooperation effort of you, the students, as well as the faculty and the graduate school staff, and the wider administration. What has been achieved is amazing. Throughout the past 5 years, the Board of Governors has met regularly with students who have been, and you have seen today. We have been so impressed with their academic brilliance, remarkable spirit, and unyielding commitment, not to mention persistence. We are now delighted to see them here as the first graduation. In the world today, we are observing the convergence of scientific disciplines to address fundamental inter- and transdisciplinary challenges, such as the future of the Earth. And the OIST graduates are well positioned to go forth and make profound contributions in international science and technology. But of course, we would not have these outstanding students without the support of their families, many of whom are here today. Thank you to all the family members. Second, I would like to acknowledge the most fundamental source of support for today's event. That is the Japanese nation and the Japanese people. We would not be here without the vision of key leaders and the efforts of many politicians, government officials, and the public, especially including those from Okinawa. OIST has received generous funding from the taxpayers, and equally important, many, many Japanese individuals, both inside and outside OIST, have contributed enormous personal effort. From the vision of the university, to the construction of the facilities, to the function of the laboratories, the establishment of the graduate school, and all the other operations that are required to make today possible. As our founding acts passed unanimously by the Diet says in the first article, the purpose of our effort is, and I quote, the establishment and operation of the Okinawa Institute of Science and Technology in order to promote internationally distinguished research and education on science and technology based in Okinawa Prefecture, and thus contribute to the promotion and self-sustaining development of Okinawa and to the development of science and technology worldwide. OIST is a Japanese university. From its founding vision, it is meant to be a new kind of university that will expand and enhance the national university community in Japan by fostering interdisciplinary research, by seeding the establishment of a center of technology development in Okinawa, and by building international bridges. Our success requires that we be accepted and welcomed by the Japanese university community. As Mr. Omi described earlier in the ceremony, when he began the implementation of his vision, he selected a truly outstanding group of Japanese and international advisors to define the structure of the new university. This group was expanded to become the founding board of governors of OIST. Though many meetings and discussions, they identified the key elements for the charter of the university. In 2003, these concepts were presented in the proposed framework of the university. This framework formed the basis for the Diet to pass the Independent Administration Institution Okinawa Institute of Science and Technology Promotion Corporation Act in 2005. This act provided the mechanism through which the university was built. First, a promotion corporation, an independent administrative institution, was created. The promotion corporation then designed and built the campus and hired the first researchers and administrators. By 2009, the progress was judged to be sufficient that, again, with Mr. Omi's guidance, the Diet passed a new act, the Okinawa Institute of Science and Technology School Corporation Act. This enabled the Promotion Corporation to prepare the extensive documentation required to apply to the Ministry of Education for accreditation as a school corporation and university. In 2011, this accreditation was approved, and the school corporation became operational. This meant that recruiting could start for the first students, and they arrived in 2012. And to come back to today's event, here they are. These are the same students who sit before us as the first doctoral graduates. Third, I want to recognize outstanding individuals. Clearly, many individuals made key contributions in the critical steps in building the university. I would like to mention a few who made especially important contributions. At the center of the vision that started the whole effort is Mr. Koji Omi, to whom we have just awarded the first honorary degree from the university. After the initial advisory stage that he described earlier, a broad group of advisors were appointed, including, in addition to Jerry Friedman and Steve Chu, who have already been mentioned, Dr. Akito Arima, Dr. Torsten Wiesel, Dr. Sidney Brenner, Dr. Susumu Tonigawa, Dr. Yuan T. Lee, and Dr. Hiroko Cho. Remarkably and gratifyingly, all of them except for 3 could make it here today. I imagine that each of the original board members has special feelings about today in this event. A special note of thanks goes to Dr. Brenner, capped to be president of the Promotion Corporation, who established the laboratories and built the initial research community. He had the tremendous challenge of convincing stakeholders from the political supporters, government officials, the public, and the researchers themselves to believe that a beautiful hillside covered with bushes in Onnasan in a little more than a decade would have a best in the world level university awarding its first degrees. Dr. Bob Bachman joined initially as an advisor at the start of the Promotion Corporation and then became vice president and executive director, where he oversaw the initial development of the research labs and campus, academic programs, administration, and shared resources program. Dr. Jeff Wickens took the challenge of building a non-standard Japanese graduate school program that became the centerpiece of the successful effort to achieve accreditation for OIST. With the accreditation achieved, Dr. Wickens then implemented the tremendously successful graduate school as we see it today. With the accreditation and start of the school corporation, Dr. John Dorf, who is here with us today, became the first president of the OIST Graduate University. Dr. Dorfan immediately made major contributions by expanding the faculty from the life sciences into physical sciences and by assembling an outstanding first class of students. He was heavily involved in recruiting both faculty and students and was personally involved in recruiting many of the students who are graduating today. Jonathan also implemented the core policies, rules, and procedures of OIST and many other key administrative and social programs. His role was central in building the broad foundation of the university. The next major challenge for OIST was accepted by the new president, Dr. Peter Gruss. Appointed a little over a year ago, President Gruss has taken the daunting task of doubling the size of the university in the next few years while maintaining world-class quality. He has implemented a prospective council chaired by Dr. Stephen Chu to guide recruiting and definition of new areas of scientific focus during this next phase of growth. He has undertaken a significant reform of the administrative structure of OIST, which is needed in view of the increasing complexity and demands of a growing university community. He strongly engaged in external fundraising for OIST. President Gruss is also actively engaged in making OIST a vibrant member of the Japanese and international university community. In view of the mission of OIST to contribute to the self-sustaining development of Okinawa, President Gruss has made a key focus of his administration the development of technology transfer and the establishment of a research and development innovation ecosystem centered on OIST. Executive Vice President Bob Bachman is now leading this important effort. Fourth, I want to acknowledge that from the start, the Cabinet Office has been an essential partner in building OIST. From the preparation of the legislation that established OIST to the preparation of the annual budgets that continue to support the university, the members of the Cabinet Office speak on behalf of OIST and support our interests. Although many Cabinet Office staff have made important contributions, I cannot mention them all here. Professor Osamu Shimizu, who is with us today, has a special role as the Director General for many of the key transitional events in OIST history. Fifth, I want to acknowledge the incredible faculty and staff of OIST, themselves all pioneers and risk takers in joining a unique research university as it was being built literally from the ground up. And lastly, I want to thank my fellow members of the Board of Governors and the members of the Board of Counselors who have joined this effort, many of whom are here today. Among the BOG members, I especially want to thank my predecessor as chair, Dr. Torsten Wiesel, whose inspiration, tireless effort, remarkable insight, and profound understanding of the importance of OIST over the last 16 years has led the way for all of us. You can see from this brief summary of key events and contributions how many people and how much effort has gone into making today possible. The effort was absolutely worth it. You are the first graduates of what will be an increasing stream of superbly trained and independent young investigators. You will carry forward the OIST spirit enunciated by Mr. Omi of best in the world. You are the first and forever unique students in this great enterprise. Congratulations and best wishes. With that, we have reached the end of our formal program, and I declare the first OIST graduation ceremony closed.
Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony will conclude with an academic session. this time including the new graduates in recognition of their award of the doctorate. The procession will be accompanied by our wonderful ensemble, playing the first movement of Mozart's Eine kleine Nachtmusik, as you can see at the back of the program. While we wait for the musicians to get set up, I would like to extend an invitation to our guests to an informal reception to be held following the ceremony. From 5 o'clock, all of our special guests, board members, OIST executives, and most importantly, the new graduates and their family are welcome to attend this reception, which will be held in the large room in the conference centre immediately adjacent to the auditorium. Before then, graduates and their supervisors and other members of the academic procession will be required for a group photo on the lawn between the auditorium and the conference centre, and friends and family are welcome to mingle with them until the reception begins at 5 o'clock. So I would now like to extend my thanks to all of you today for helping make this inaugural ceremony a success. To our special and honoured guests, thank you for sharing your valuable time with us, and we appreciate your contribution over the years. To all OIST faculty and staff, thank you for your hard work in the months leading up to this day. And to our new graduates and your family members gathered here, congratulations and good luck.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the dinner procession. 学長が退場いたします。皆様ご起立ください。 Thank you for your participation. Have a wonderful evening. これをもちまして沖縄科学技術大学院大学学位記授与式を終了といたします。ご来場いただきまして誠にありがとうございました。